Okay, guys. So I thought it might help some people to talk about 3 common mistakes that I made as a beginner, and I'm sure a lot of other people make too. Um, the first one is not hitting above the edge enough. So instead of rolling that edge off, you're striking on a, a knife edge. You might be grinding it, but you're not preparing it correctly. You're not shearing off enough where you get that little correct angle on the edge there. When you steepen it up like that and make it blunt, you can get the bulb of percussion to initiate much higher. So your flake will start out much thicker because flakes usually don't get thicker. Well, they do to a certain point, and then but generally speaking, they're thinning out as they're going, so they're getting thinner. So you got to get that flake, that bulb started in there deep within that material, with enough material on top and bottom of it for this flake to crack to form right and run in far enough to do some serious thinning. And then the same thing you do over here. You could blunt this thing off and come in and strike with. Got to have that inward force too. So just remember, if you're just striking only the very edge of the piece, this is a mistake I made a lot when I started because I was using the under the knee indirect, and you're preparing the edge every time and placing the bit right on where you want to hit. So you're not really striking above the edge as much. So you got to have your edge and platform just right to get that bulb to initiate with enough meat to get a good flake to go. But you can use the under the leg indirect. You just got to place your tooltip up a little higher and use that support, that back edge support, and concentrating on tightening up your support and getting that flake to run a little farther, driving that piece into the back of your hand when you hit it. That works well with the under leg indirect too. So that'll really help those flakes go a little farther. Okay. So yeah, just if you're striking the edge and only the edge, just remember, go ahead and steepen up those edges quite a bit, enough to be able to strike just above the edge, and use that inward force. You don't want too much inward, but enough to where you'll get the feel for it. It takes a while. Just be patient. You'll have to build the muscle memory and all that good stuff. So it's just lots of practice. Trying to thin too often. So I could probably go ahead and link this one with this one. So when I started, all I was doing was trying to thin and getting the edge as low as possible. Because, in all the videos, they tell you, yeah, you want your edge below center line. You want to get it, you got to get that edge low to get them flakes to run long and all this. And that can be true to an extent, but from what I've found is it's nice to have a little convexity built right in front of your edge. So, if you got your preform and you got this edge over here is low, all the way down here, and you're striking it, it's hard to get a bulb of percussion to go in there and have enough depth up in here to really take off. Because if you can get your crack to initiate this high by hitting it on the edge, it's just going to be a big lip flake, and it's going to take a bunch of your edge and stuff. Whereas if you prepare it a little differently, you know, and you get a little bit steeper edge with a little bit more meat to it, and then you strike it, that bulb will start here, and because you got a little convexity right in front of your edge here, that happened when you brought your edge in. So now that bulb, when it starts up here, look how thick that flake is all of a sudden. It's starting out really thick because you got that convexity right off the edge, and that allows it to take off and be a nice thick flake. I hope that makes sense, because that really helped me a lot when I figured that out. You know, putting that, and it'll naturally happen when you bring your edge in, by braiding or chipping or down or whatever. It'll, you know, you'll have a little convexity right off the edge usually if you're preparing your edge right. But even if it's all the way out here and it's sticking way out here and you blunt it off, it's still going to be hard to get that flake to go. What you need to do is take your edge back, sacrifice a little bit of width, and get it back up in here, closer to the main mass of what you're wanting to get. So yeah, just remember, lowering the edge too far, you want a little convexity. Just remember, not always, depending on the flake you're wanting to get, but for the most part, you want a little convexity right off in front of your platform. That really helps. And then trying to thin too often. So that's what I was doing, was just lowering my edge as far as I could and trying to thin with every flake. I wasn't taking any short flakes. They were all just Hail Marys trying to get those big thinning flakes, and that's really hard to do. Even if you get good at taking the big flakes, all of a sudden you start getting too flat too fast, and you lose your convexity, and your flakes will run out here and do weird stuff and step and break off and all that stuff. So just remember, maybe do one pass of thinning flakes and then do a short row, like a third of the way in. Practice taking those shorter flakes, not quite to the center, but you want them to create the right profile that you're looking for, that nice convexity. And then once you get that nice beefy preform, nice and consistent, all your edges nice and consistent, then you can start taking your real nice flakes, your nice thinning flakes. So you brought your edges in a little bit, and you've got a nice lens-shaped preform. You know, this is roughly the profile that I'm looking for as I'm bringing my preform in. Before I start thinning, like doing my final thinning, I'll bring it from this size and then work on getting my symmetry and everything in the right shape, and you know, the right body, and then the right symmetry from tip to base, you know, the right thinness and stuff. But I'll keep it kind of fat like this, and then once you start getting down to the final thinning, you've got enough meat and enough thickness on the edge that you can really drive some nice thinning flakes. You know, you can really thin it down quick. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it helps. I've just been thinking about that for a while now, and wanted to do a quick video on it. And yeah, I hope that stuff made sense, and I hope it helps. So I'll catch you all in the next one, and thanks for watching.